We acknowledge that we are on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now the home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. The city is covered by Treaty 13, signed with the Mississaugas of the Credit, and the Williams Treaty, signed with multiple Mississauga and Chippewa bands. While we acknowledge the land, we have the opportunities to live, work, and play on. It is important for us to always remember the harms caused to Indigenous peoples. These harms continue to happen, and the work of the MMIT is mindful and intentional about our work to ensure we work to address the harms of the past while we work to change the systems and create a better society for all. And I think it's important to sort of acknowledge and put that piece to a land acknowledgement, because then it doesn't mean anything. You have to personalize it. And so that's why I wanted to sort of add that, because it is very intentional of the MMIT to ensure that we acknowledge these harms and the continued harms caused by the systems that govern the country. Without further ado, I'm grateful for folks to have invited Richard Warman and Ruby from the All My Relations Indigenous Support Network to start us off in a good way. So if I can invite Richard up to the podium. Thank you.
Ani Tansi, bonjour, good morning everyone. Thank you for coming. As my friend and colleague said, I'm Richard Warman with the Indigenous Internal Support Network of the Toronto Police Service called All My Relations. What we're going to do today, we're going to start with a smudging ceremony with my friend Ruby Eisen. This ceremony is going to be held in the traditional Anishinaabe way, using sage as our medicine. Anyone who wishes to participate, please feel free to do so. We're going to stand and form a rough circle around our gathering space. As with most community members who start the day off with a smudge, our gatherings and ceremonies will begin in the same way. It's a means of cleansing oneself or preparing oneself for either the work we're going to do ahead, the words we're going to share, the visions and plans we had together. So as we smudge today, I'm going to ask that we refrain from taking any photographs or recording the actual ceremony itself. Some of the reasons we smudge is we take a second now if we want to make a circle. If you want to stand and participate, feel free to do so. If not, that's okay. Ruby will come around the smudge bowl. As the medicine burns, the smoke will carry our thoughts and our prayers and our wishes to the Creator with the help of our eagle feather and the smoke rising in the air. So we smudge to clear the air around us, to purify and cleanse our environment. We smudge to clean our minds so that we have good thoughts of others and of ourselves. We smudge our eyes so that we will only see the good in others. We smudge our ears so we only listen to the positive things about others. We smudge our mouths so that we only speak well of others, and our arms to do the good work that we do in a loving and caring way. We smudge our feet so that we walk in a good way. We smudge the bottom of our feet to cleanse the connection between ourselves and Mother Earth. We smudge our heart to cleanse it of negativity. We smudge our hair to cleanse away negativity we may be carrying, our back for the same purposes. We smudge our whole being so we portray only the good part of ourselves through our actions. And we cleanse ourselves of negative energy in our being and the space that we're in. It's a commitment to bring the best of ourselves to our gathering, right? To accepting the words of others as truth, as they know it, and to be inclusive. So without further ado, we'll finish going around the room, and when Ruby returns to the east, our cleansing ceremony will be complete. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Richard and Ruby, for starting us off in a good way, and y'all can have a seat, please. While you're doing that, I know I didn't introduce myself. My name is Haran Vijayanathan. I'm the co-chair with Staff Superintendent Pauline Gray for the MMIT. And with that, I'd like to invite my co-chair, Pauline, to kick us off.
Good morning. I'll give you all a moment to take your seats. Terrific, thank you. So thank you so much for joining us today. It really is a special day for many of us. I will say my main function today is to say thank you. Thank you to my community co-chair, Haran, who he has become one of my favorite people on the whole planet. It has been an interesting 2 years. Not always perfect, but always open and honest and revealing. But I thank my community members who have participated, some from Justice Epstein's original community advisor group, and then others who we drew from community. And I do, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for your participation. Again, it has been a learning experience for me like I have not had in 35 years of policing. I am in a completely different space. Because of knowing you. Thank you. So, because I'm a big baby, thank you to my colleagues, both from the project team, particularly the project team that put this together. It really is amazing today. I'm so proud of you. Yes, amazing, amazing work. Jen and Dawn over there, trying to be covert, not doing a very good job of it. Thank you so much. This is more than I could have ever dreamed for our second anniversary. And to our community, so our police representatives who sit on the missing and missed, thank you. I know you have a ton of things on your desk already, but thank you for coming to our meetings and moving those recommendations in your pillars forward when you have a million, like I said, other things to do. So thank you so much. So I'm just going to introduce Lisa Kostakis from the Toronto Police Service Board, and Lisa is going to bring us remarks from the board. Thank you.
Sorry about that. The 50 mid-ish are not kind to the eyes, so I'm going to put these on and not worry about vanity right now. So good afternoon to everyone. The Honorable Gloria Epstein, Chief Demkiw, Inspector General Teschner, MMIT co-chairs Haran, Vijayanathan, did I do it? Yeah, thank you. And Staff Superintendent Pauline Gray, members of the Toronto Police Service, and of course members of our community. On behalf of the Toronto Police Services Board, it is an honor to be here today as we mark the second anniversary of the release of the seminal Missing and Missed report. In June 2018, the board approved terms of reference for the review and subsequently appointed Judge Epstein, formerly a Justice of the Court of Appeal of Ontario, to lead the review, along with her review team. The board established this review on the basis of terms of reference that were compiled by a diverse community-based working group. Its creation was prompted in large part by the tragic deaths of members of Toronto's LGBTQ+, communities and by questions concerning how the Toronto Police Service conducted its investigations into their disappearances. The resulting report was groundbreaking in a number of critical ways, with recommendations spanning a variety of important areas such as policies, procedures, training, education, professional development, and arguably the most important, culture. From the outset, both the board and the service welcomed the report and embraced its recommendations, even when the message was hard to hear. We recognized that what the report told us, not just about missing persons investigations, but about community policing in general, was essential to understand. It was vital for us to see what went wrong in the past and, importantly, the ways in which we can and must be better. This includes recommendations related to the role and mandate of the board. In embracing the report, we committed to not just a better way of moving forward, but a renewed approach to working with communities and acknowledging and working to address systemic discrimination in its many manifestations. It is important to note that every aspect of this process, The report, its recommendations, the implementation plan, and the ongoing evaluation of the work is founded on inclusivity and collaboration. This approach means the process is inevitably a slower one, but in many ways it is a more meaningful one, one that will result in sustained and real transformations. We know that true change takes time. As a board, we commend the work to date, the substantive and key changes we have seen in policies, in practices, and in perspectives. We have confidence both in the substance of the work and in its pace. We applaud the accessibility and transparency clearly inherent in all aspects of this process, including the public-facing dashboard that updates progress made in real time and tells us what still remains left to do. As former Chair Jim Hart stated when the report was originally released 2 years ago, this review and its conclusions are and must be viewed as an ongoing and dynamic work in progress where we constantly reassess where we check in, develop expectations in partnership with the public, acknowledging gaps, working to fill them together, building on successes as we move forward. This very much holds true today, and it holds true for our own office. As part of the last budget process, the board's budget was increased to include 3 new full-time positions to support the board in carrying out its governance and oversight duty, with one of them being dedicated to Indigenous engagement to increase engagement in diverse communities across Toronto. I would like to thank all of the members of the service and all of the members of the community who have been such a powerful and integral part of this significant process. This is a true partnership effort, with police and the public coming together in pursuit of important, common objectives to make real, lasting, meaningful changes. In particular, I would like to commend the ongoing work of the Missing and Misimplementation team, the progressive community-centric group that was created to guide and lead the implementation of the reports of 151 recommendations. MMIT co-chairs Haran, Vijayanathan, and Staff Superintendent Pauline are here as our MCs today as we've met, and they have been inspiring leaders in this final work. So thank you to you and your teams. Yes. Applause is great. It gives me a breather here. Thank you. To everyone who has been part of this wide-ranging process and who continues to work with us in a transformative approach as we forge a path forward, we thank you. We are making policing better for all of Torontonians, those who speak out, those who have networks, those who can access systems, but most importantly, those who cannot, those who are disenfranchised, those who are marginalized, and those who are not heard. It is through your efforts that we are rebuilding the vital trust so essential to our collective community safety, and that we continue to build bridges with members of all the communities that we serve. And this is where I usually go off script and just state that I've been a social worker in this city for about 35 years and worked in all the areas and with many of the groups that I talked about that perhaps do not have the access or the, I guess, the services that they require and the attention. So this is really crucial and important. So thank you very much to each and every one of you and for everyone who's here to support this moving forward. We have a lot to still do, but we're doing it together. So thank you very much to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. And now the reason we're actually here, Your Honor, Gloria Epstein, you're the reason we're here, right? I mean, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. So now it's your turn to get up here. Everybody, Gloria Epstein. You are. I'm going to stay up here this time. I'm staying up here. The stairs are too much.
Okay. This is absolutely wonderful. I just can't tell you what this means to me. And I also can't believe 2 years have gone by. And I don't think I've aged a bit. Anyway, it's just, you know, for Pauline, I understand the emotion because I feel it a lot today. But top of my mind today is one thing, and that's gratitude. I start by thanking those tenacious people who fought for the review, who worked hard you can't just kind of stop there and say, can we have a review? And somebody says yes, and then you walk away. And those who were initially involved didn't stop after they got what they asked for. They continued to work and fight for the details. No, we're not just going to have some old review with a few terms of reference and then hope for the best. They worked really hard on the creation of the terms of reference. And Mark and I used to say, well, he's had more experience than I have. Who's ever done terms of reference like this before? Nobody. They were detailed, they were challenging, they were tough, they were meant to be, and we needed them to be that way. I also thank those who identified me as being worthy of the job of heading the review. As I've said many times, participating in the review changed my life. I've said also many times, and I like to say it because it's true, and that is, if I'd done the review before my 25 years as a judge, I would have been a better judge. So, a bit late for that, but anyway, in hindsight. I'm also enormously grateful for the hard work of the amazing team led by the incredibly talented Mark Sandler, and for the insight, access, and voices provided by the member of the review's community advisory group. Many of both of these groups are here today, faces I haven't seen for a while, and who I hope to catch up with after after this event and when we maybe have a chance to go and have a bite to eat together. And of course, I'm grateful to Toronto Police Service for accepting the board's the report's findings and undertaking to implement each and every one of the report's 151 recommendations. This takes me to the hardworking, tenacious implementation committee, headed by Staff Superintendent Pauline Gray and the irrepressible Haran Vijayanathan. Over the past 2 years, the committee has broken new ground in creating a process aimed at providing Toronto's diverse communities with a real voice in the development of a new relationship between the Toronto Police Service and this city's marginalized and vulnerable communities. I am particularly grateful to the community members of the Implementation Committee for so generously giving of their time. The implementation is taking a while. Now, as my husband would tell you if he were here, I made sure he wasn't, that I'm not particularly known for my patience. And on a regular basis, I bug Haran and Pauline, well, so the conversation goes something like this. Well, so how many recommendations have you done? I mean, like really done, finished, done today? And they say, the answer goes something like this. Well, Judge, how about checking the website? Because that's what the website's there for in part. And because, lovely to chat with you, but we're really quite busy finishing the implementation of all the rest of your recommendations. Now, as I've been sitting here, I've been noticing your kind of new and improved chart, which I'm quite, alrighty. I'm quite impressed by. But through these periodic and ever so meaningful exchanges, I have learned a lot. I have learned that I've learned about what is taking in a place in a world that I really don't understand, but in which I have great confidence. It's hard work, and it has resulted in real progress. The recommendations are being implemented. Indeed, and I think this is the coolest part ever, indeed, the committee itself came up with its own recommendations, which if you think about it from another perspective is a bit embarrassing that we didn't figure those ones out, Mark, but anyway, they're on the inside, we weren't. But the fact that they came up with their own and added recommendations, I don't know if that's ever happened before, but I just think it's quite wonderful. Importantly, the Implementation Committee's work is giving Toronto's marginalized and vulnerable communities a voice, a real voice, a voice that's being heard. Now, I'm going to end with a comment on the importance of this work. Importance beyond this great city. We've heard about the impact it already has had on the city and will continue to have forever. But I've been part of something that is really quite remarkable. The review has attracted worldwide attention. I've spoken about the review to audiences in various parts of Canada and to other countries. And I've been part of several documentaries and related works reflective of the broad interest in the issues that the review addresses. My most recent engagement has had particular impact on me. Just this past Thursday, I spoke about the review via Zoom to 50 members of the Ukrainian Bar Association as part of a lecture series on human rights. I've been invited back this Thursday, sadly not to Ukraine, but through Zoom again for further discussions. In preparing for this, my lecture to the Ukrainian Bar Association, I studied about what's going on in Ukraine as far as human rights are concerned, and particularly LGBTQ2S+ rights. I'm saying that wrong now. I appreciate it, and we'll get it right. Mark, as you know, it took me long enough to get it right the first time. But here, the war has had particular impact on a momentum in Ukraine to persuade Zelensky to change the law so that same-sex relationships were recognized. And why has the war had that effect? Because right now, when predominantly men, but when there are people killed in Ukraine in the war, as we know, and have been killed, only spouses can pick up the remains. So people in same-sex relationships have no access to the bodies of their loved ones for burial purposes. When I heard that, it's inconceivable to me. And so that's one of the reasons Ukraine in particular is responding and is trying to move ahead in their human rights initiatives and organizing and participating in lecture series such as the one I'm involved in right now. I end where I started, by acknowledging gratitude. I say to Pauline and Haran, and those who are working with you on this implementation committee, 2 words: thank you. Oh. I do have gifts. My mother told me never to go anywhere without a gift. And these are gifts for 4 people here who have current responsibility in police leadership. And so one goes to, if I can get up and down. And if I get back up, I don't have to. No, I do have to get back up.
Sorry, thank you.
So what these are is, it's a book on community policing by Hugh Russell. And, it's the 2nd edition, though. I don't know if you already have it, but you will see from the foreword that I have actually read it because I had to read it to write the foreword. And I think it is marvelous. I think what's in this 2nd edition of Hugh Russell's book on community policing contains a lot of really interesting ideas. So in your spare time, thank you.
Thank you. You good? Yes, you did. No, it's mine. Don't touch it. Nothing better I like than gifts and shoes, right? Right. Thank you so much, Your Honor. So I will say, just listening to Her Honor's points that I too wish that I had done this work as a young constable. I will tell you that I think it would have immeasurably changed my approach. Most of my life has been in criminal investigations, but I see now from a different lens how I could have better done that work throughout the 35 years with the Toronto Police Service. So next we have Mr. Ryan Teschner, who's the new Inspector General of Policing for Ontario.
I know. Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you, Staff Superintendent, to the members of the implementation team, Chief, Board Member Kostakis, Your Honor, Mr. Sandler, friends. It's an honor to be here with you today to mark the second anniversary of the release of the Missing and Missed report. The report is a culmination of tragedy and loss, but also a roadmap and an approach to better. Better for those who go missing. Better for their families, friends, and loved ones. Better for the 2S LGBTQ+ communities and allies in this city. I've always been inspired by how community-led accountability, participation, design, and implementation have been the animating feature of this review from its very first moment. From fashioning its terms of reference to helping shape its content to the important process now underway to oversee the implementation of its recommendations. The Honorable Gloria Epstein, and supported by her lead counsel, Mark Sandler, saw a better way for the Toronto Police Service to handle missing persons investigations, particularly in relation to the 2S LGBTQ+ communities, new immigrants, and racialized communities. The report's release marked a significant milestone in our collective journey to make lasting improvements to police practices that promote accountability, that promote trust, and transparency with the public. This community-centric approach that the Toronto Police Services Board took in partnership with the service and community leaders, and I want to pay special tribute to Haran as the community co-chair of the Missing and Missed implementation team, stand as a testament to the power of collaboration when we all come to the table with the same goal in mind, to make everyone safer. As you know, I had the privilege of serving as the Executive Director and Chief of Staff at the Toronto Police Services Board during the review process, and I often reflect with great pride on the progress we have made since the report's release. Progress that has been propelled not only by the community's desire to create accountability, but by the Toronto Police Services Board's and police services' genuine desire to now lead in this important community safety area. The leadership that is necessary to get things done, get them actually done, was evidenced through former Chair Jim Hart's embracing of Judge Epstein's report and former Chief Raymer's commitment to implement each and every one of the 151 recommendations in it. And this leadership has been sustained and continues through Chief Demkiw's desire to ensure that community voices continue to animate the service's priorities and approach to this body of work and others, and through Staff Superintendent Pauline Gray's work and dedication as co-chair of the implementation team, mobilizing the service to never lose sight of the importance of living up to the promises that were made when this work began. I also look forward to helping this work continue in a different capacity now, in my new role as Inspector General of Policing of Ontario. I'm excited to be leading the Inspectorate of Policing, the first of its kind in Canada, that will operate at arm's length from government to advance policing, build public trust, and modernize police governance and oversight throughout Ontario. Once the new Community Safety and Policing Act comes into force, our mandate will be to monitor the performance of police services and boards, conduct inspections, and investigate complaints relating to the delivery of policing across this province. We will advise police organizations and drive research and analytics to help promote improvements to public safety in Ontario for all Ontarians. Now that's a mouthful. But when you boil it down, the Inspectorate is here to ensure police services and boards operate in a manner that's transparent, accountable, and responsive to the diverse communities that they serve. The success of the Inspectorate of Policing in fulfilling our mandate ultimately lies in the same spirit of community collaboration and transparency that has been seen through the life of this review and its implementation, and in the creation and the work of the implementation team. And as the Inspector General for this province, I will be looking for ways to infuse the Inspectorate's work and connection to community in all that we do to enhance public trust, confidence, and legitimacy in policing. For example, when we champion the approach to transparency the implementation team has shown as it addresses the 151 recommendations in this report, while providing the public with real-time and long-term status updates on their continuous work and the impact that the work is actually having. These are among the examples I intend to point to. This type of transparency and accountability assures families who have lost their loved ones that their pain has not been forgotten and that they can, over time, hopefully regain confidence in the work our police services do each and every day to keep us safe. As we mark the second year of this report's release, this anniversary should serve as a reminder to us of the power we have when we work together, of the hope that can come from pain and from tragedy. As Inspector General, I hope to promote and amplify the unique approach that took place to implement this report's recommendations. And I hope that it serves as a model to other police services in Ontario and clearly internationally, and inspires them as they navigate their own local issues and challenges and as they approach them together. I would like to thank the Toronto Police Services Board and Member Kostakis, who's here on behalf of the board, the Toronto Police Service, and in particular Chief Demkiw, Staff Superintendent Gray, and the many officers and civilians that are part of the implementation team who have worked tirelessly to improve the handling of missing persons cases. And I would like to thank, again, the Honorable Gloria Epstein and Mr. Sandler for their care in developing the report, ensuring that those that have lost and the communities that have been impacted see their realities and hopes for better reflected in its words and the actions that flow from its recommendations, so that the families with a missing loved one ultimately receive the support that they fundamentally deserve. As we move forward, and in my new role, I will approach my duties each day, seeking to make everyone in Ontario safer by encouraging excellence among police boards and services. And I appreciate that this excellence will often materialize through genuine and effective police community collaboration. I commit to building on and amplifying this work, seeking opportunities to center the voices and lived experiences of communities in what we do, and helping support models that place those voices at the very center of community safety and well-being in Ontario. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And now I would like to introduce our Chief of Police, Myron Demkiw. Myron.
Thank you. So I will continue the common theme that we've heard thus far of expressions of gratitude and commitment, self-reflection and growth. Good afternoon, everybody. As we mark the second anniversary of the Missing and Missed report by the Honorable Gloria J. Epstein, I'd like to start by thanking all of you for joining us here today. This second anniversary event provides an opportunity for you to engage with the Missing and Missed implementation team This team is made up, as you've heard, of community representatives and police service representatives. It's a chance to learn more about the 151 recommendations that are in the report. It's also an opportunity to learn about some of the incredible and meaningful partnerships that have developed between the community representatives and the police representatives. I'm hopeful that while you are here, you will take some time to visit the various stations around the rotunda and learn more about the implementation and connect with the people working on these very important recommendations. There are many people involved in the implementation and in putting this event together that I'd like to thank. I'd like to start first by extending my gratitude to the community representatives and service representatives of the Missing and Missed implementation team, as well as the project team, for the work in making today's event possible. That's a round of applause for sure. I'd also like to acknowledge and thank the Toronto Police Services Board, including board member Lisa Kostakis, as well as the past Executive Director, Chief of Staff, and now Inspector General of Policing in Ontario, Mr. Ryan Teschner. And I also extend my thanks, of course, to the Honorable Gloria J. Epstein, her review team. We've certainly heard Mr. Sandler's name called out, and the entire team, and members of the Community Advisory Group who were instrumental in the development of the report and the recommendations. Justice Epstein, while your work has highlighted deficiencies within the Toronto Police Service, it has also provided many opportunities for us to improve. We appreciate how thorough and thoughtful you were in articulating the challenges and the corresponding solutions. I also want you to know how much I appreciate the dedication at the beginning of the report, which serves as a reminder to all of us about the significance of this work, the importance of acknowledging our mistakes and working together to get things right. I'd like to take a moment to share an excerpt from that dedication. I quote, "I dedicate this report to the victims identified in the terms of reference. And to their families and other loved ones. Neither your pain nor your loss is in vain. They will serve as the catalyst for real and lasting improvements to how the Toronto Police Service investigates reports of missing persons. They will also help to identify a way forward to improve relationships between the service and the marginalized and vulnerable communities it serves and protects. Relationships built on trust and on mutual respect," end quote. It was these words that inspired leaders like Staff Superintendent Pauline Gray and the members of the project team. In April of 2021, soon after the report was released, Staff Superintendent Pauline Gray was appointed by Chief Raymer to lead the implementation of the recommendations, including the assembly of the Missing and Missed implementation team, or MMIT, as well as the Missing and Missed project team, or MMPT. The Missing and Missed project team, comprised of civilian service members and police officers, was formed to help facilitate the implementation of the 151 recommendations. The project team is dedicated to this work on a full-time basis and supports the internal recommendation leads, as well as the 4 working groups of the MMIT, which we see represented around the hall today. Together, the MMIT and MMPT have co-designed, co-developed, and co-produced new business processes to ensure the implementation of each recommendation is in keeping with the spirit and essence of the report. I'd like to thank Staff Superintendent Gray for her ongoing commitment and her leadership of both the MMPT and MMIT. Another person who's played and continues to play an integral role in the implementation is Mr. Haran, Vijayanathan, Community Co-Chair of the Missing and Missed implementation team. Haran played a key role in Judge Epstein's Community Advisory Committee, and he's continued to be instrumental in the success of the MMIT. Haran, along with other community representatives on the MMIT, continue to provide critical perspectives throughout our implementation process, and we are grateful for their willingness to challenge us and help us get better. I will go off script for just one moment and acknowledge also, Haran, your commitment when I've asked for feedback and I've asked for guidance. You've always been there and have always indicated the ongoing willingness to work with me as the Chief of Police, for which I'm very grateful. The implementation of the 151 recommendations holds significant value for the service, not only in their approach to how we investigate missing persons, but also in various other aspects of our service. They are fundamentally changing how we deliver police services. And it is through the ongoing engagement with community representatives that we will continue to improve service resources, procedures, processes, training, education, professional development, and culture. In fact, the service only moves ahead with significant decisions on implementation after they've been discussed with the MMIT community representatives, and any concerns that have been identified have been addressed. This crucial work stems from Justice Epstein's report and is helping us address the systemic issues that led to inexcusable shortcomings that disproportionately affected 2SL LGBTQ+ community members, as well as other vulnerable and marginalized communities. In April of 2021, when the Missing and Missed report was released, Chief Framer acknowledged the mistakes made, the process failures, and the gaps identified in the report. He also committed the service to implementing all 151 recommendations. Similarly, on my first day as Chief of Police, I again reaffirmed my commitment and the services to supporting the Missing and Missed implementation team and to completing the implementation of all 151 recommendations. The report makes it abundantly clear that there exists a mistrust of our service by many communities in Toronto. This mistrust and the system itself has been many decades in the making, and the Missing and Missed report has highlighted the inconsistencies. We've learned so much from the report, and we have continued to learn more over the past 2 years, in large part because of the relationship building that occurred with the community representatives. It is through these meaningful partnerships and relationships that we have come to learn just how deeply rooted the mistrust is in some communities. We must take responsibility for this, and we do, because this mistrust is directly related to our actions as a service, or in some cases, our inaction. On a personal note, I have certainly learned a lot from this report and our implementation over the past 2 years. I now have a much deeper understanding of the need for me to build stronger and deeper relationships with members of vulnerable and marginalized communities. And in doing so, I must recognize that each person I connect with brings unique lived experiences to every interaction they have with me. Sometimes these interactions are even more complex for those who belong to multiple vulnerable and marginalized communities. Depending on each individual's unique combination of intersectional identities and the mistrust of the police that exists within their respective communities, it is likely that their mistrust of police has been compounded. I will continue to learn and gain additional insights into how I can better serve vulnerable and marginalized communities. I wanted to take a moment to share this with you today, to let you know that this report and the implementation has and will continue to change us as individuals and as a service. While the errors of the past will not be addressed and resolved overnight, intentional efforts are being made on a daily basis to change for the better. This often involves listening to the voices of marginalized and vulnerable community members and truly listening to them and learning how we can better support them and provide policing services consistent with their expectations. And then it will and must be our actions that speak louder than our words. In closing, I want to reaffirm my commitment to ensuring that we, the Toronto Police Service, continue to take action to better support our communities by ensuring effective implementation of all 151 recommendations through a public and transparent process to sustain meaningful change over the long term. We are committed to this work. I am committed to this work. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. So the formal part's over. Thank you so much. Please mingle, talk to the folks at each of the working groups. Please have a snack, have a big snack. It's a lot of food there. You know when cops do the food, right? It's like a buffet table. Thank you so much. Like I said, mingle, meet our members, both sworn and our wonderful community members. And that's it for us today. Thank you. Merci, miigwech. I'm just going to get down off this awful stage. Thank you.